I continue to see all these YouTube and TikTok videos of so many photographers talking about why gear doesn't matter, and I'm here to tell you why that's all bull. Hey everyone, it's Stefano Lombardo here, and today I want to discuss why gear really does matter. Let me start by saying that I've been doing photography for quite some time now, and I got into this addiction of buying gear. This addiction of buying gear is super common in the industry, and there's no other reason for it other than it matters. I look at gear as tools to make our job easier and better, and this goes with any profession out there. Depending on the type of gear, like lenses, they can significantly change the overall result of your image. Also, not having the proper gear can actually limit you. Let me tell you what happened to me. You guys know that I'm a portrait photographer. I love shooting portraits, but recently I got into second shooting weddings with a friend of mine. About a month ago, we were shooting this wedding at the Soho rooftop downtown here in Toronto, and it was so much fun until it started to get dark out. My friend, who was the main photographer, pulled out her flash and continued shooting, but because I only shoot portraits and I never needed a speed light, I didn't have one. My ISO was cranked up to 12,000, shutter speed was low, and the photos were basically unusable. The next day I bought a flash right away, but what I'm getting at is I was so upset because that was the first time where I was actually unable to do my job properly because I didn't have the proper gear I needed. This saying of gear doesn't matter just doesn't make any sense to me. If I go to a photo shoot and bring two lenses with me, a $1,000 lens with an aperture of 1.4 and also a kit lens with a variable aperture, the photos I would get with the more expensive lens would come out way better. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's more expensive, but the more expensive lens has a fast constant aperture compared to the kit lens. That means I can still get that nice blurry bokeh background and still have full control over my camera settings. But if I have a lens with an aperture of 5.6, not only am I not going to get that nice blurry background, I'm also not going to be able to control my settings as much because I wouldn't have as much light coming into the sensor. Also, more expensive lenses tend to have higher quality glass, making the image a lot sharper. Another example, and I've ran into this a few times, if you're filming a video without a gimbal, you're going to introduce a lot of camera shake to the video. Even if you're filming at 120 frames per second, slow it down and stabilize it in post, you may still have some camera shake depending on how the video was filmed. But if you go out and buy a gimbal, you can film at 24 frames per second with no slow motion, and it'll significantly reduce the camera shake, if any. If I wanted this video to be 20 minutes, I can list a million reasons why gear matters. Here's the thing, if gear didn't matter, why do you continue to see professional photographers upgrading cameras and lenses every couple years? Now, I'm not saying go out there and buy all this gear because it'll make you a better photographer. That's simply not true. What I am saying is limiting yourself and not buying the tools that will help you become a better photographer is not the best route to go. I strongly believe that gear matters only if you know how to use it properly. Instead of going out there and buying a bunch of different gear, I would suggest that you determine exactly what style or kind of photography you want to get into, or maybe you're already doing. Then I suggest buying the gear that would help you succeed in that type of photography. If I knew that I was only going to shoot portraits at golden hour on the beach for the rest of my life, then sure, I could have saved the money and not bought all the extra flashes and lenses and extra gear. But to be able to create beautiful photos at any time of the day, at any location, there's no way I could do without any of my other gear. If you're a beginner photographer who's just getting into photography, sure, use your phone because there's no reason to buy all this equipment if you may not like it. Learn how to create a good composition, how lighting affects your image, angles, learn all of that. And if you want to get into this art of photography, upgrade to a camera. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you don't need a camera, all you need is your phone, because that's simply not true. Shooting on my USR with my 35mm would beat a smartphone in every scenario. Sure, maybe on a bright sunny day you can get close to similar results on some of these smartphones, but it isn't the same results you would get with a camera. You just have way more control, more data and information to work with, more flexibility when it comes to editing, low light capabilities, a bigger sensor, higher quality glass, the list goes on. We're still not at the point where smartphones are comparable to these professional cameras. So yes, I do believe gear matters. I remember when I was starting out in photography and I bought my first camera. It was a Nikon, I forget the model number, but it was a really cheap Nikon DSLR. At the time, I thought this was all I needed because it was doing everything I wanted from it. Until I started growing. I started to film videos, then later YouTube videos, and this camera couldn't shoot in log or raw format. So I upgraded to the Canon M50. The Canon M50 was one of my favorite cameras, and I had it for a couple months until I started to feel like I was being limited again. So I upgraded again, and this time it was to the EOS R. At the end of the day, you never want to think to yourself, will I be able to do this job or this photo shoot? You want to feel confident knowing that all of your gear are tools ready to help you successfully complete that job or photo shoot. With that being said, I'm gonna wrap up this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you think gear matters? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure to hit that bell to be notified when I post a new video. Peace.